Have you ever thought about a sandwich? I mean, really thought about it. During the Passover Seder, which celebrates the journey from slavery to freedom, there's this ritual of making a sandwich. But this is no ordinary sandwich. It's a single bite that holds thousands of years of history and honestly a profound lesson on how to be human.
And that brings us to the big question, right? In the middle of this huge celebration of liberty, you're literally commanded to eat something that tastes like pain. It feels like a total contradiction. So what's the deal? Well, that paradox is exactly what we're going to unpack today. All right, let's dive in. We've got to deconstruct this thing. It all starts with the sandwich itself, which has a name, korech, and it's this really important moment in the Passover meal, right before you get to the main course.
So this tradition goes way back, over 2,000 years, to a great sage named Hillel. Now, back when the temple in Jerusalem was still standing, this sandwich actually had a piece of the Paschal lamb in it. Today, though, it's all about two core ingredients: matzah, that flat, unleavened bread, and maror, the bitter herbs.
But here's the thing. These aren't just ingredients for a snack. They are powerful, living symbols. Every piece tells a part of the story. And the way they're put together, that's where the real genius is.
And this is where it gets really interesting in the contrast. On one side, you have mar. Its symbolism is sharp, direct, no nonsense. It represents suffering. But then you have matzah, and it has this incredible dual personality. Yes, it's called the bread of affliction, a reminder of poverty, but it's also the ultimate symbol of freedom. Why? Because it was baked in such a rush during the Exodus that there was no time for it to rise. It's freedom so fast there's no room for ego.
And get this, the great thinker Rav Kook pointed out something absolutely crucial. The order is everything. When you build the sandwich, the matzah, that's freedom, literally wraps around the maror, the bitterness. Freedom is the first and the last thing you taste, and that is no accident. The very architecture of the sandwich is telling us that, yeah, bitterness is real, and you have to acknowledge it, but it exists inside a bigger story of freedom. Freedom is the ultimate reality.
This is where the whole idea just explodes into something incredibly powerful. Because this isn't just some abstract theological concept. This practice of holding bitterness inside a framework of hope, it's a deep psychological tool for survival.
This idea was put to the ultimate test in the most horrific conditions you can imagine by Viktor Frankl. He was a psychiatrist and a survivor of the Holocaust. And in the concentration camps, he noticed something profound. The will to live, it often had very little to do with how physically strong someone was. What really separated those who made it from those who didn't was something else entirely.
What Frankl realized was that our deepest, most primary drive as human beings isn't pleasure. It's the search for meaning. He argued that if a person has a powerful enough reason why they should live, a purpose, a future goal, someone they love to see again, they can survive almost any how. That purpose becomes an anchor that holds you steady in the darkest storm you could ever face.
This one quote just nails his entire philosophy. The why is the matzah. The how is the bitter maror. As long as you have that framework of meaning, you can hold the bitterness of whatever you're going through.
And this idea perfectly illustrates the Jewish experience of a 2,000-year exile. For 2 millennia, the Jewish people were scattered, often persecuted. The how of their daily existence was incredibly bitter. But they survived. Why? Because they held on to a powerful why, this unwavering hope, this deep-seated belief that one day they would return to their homeland.
But here's a really important twist in the story. Redemption, the actual return, wasn't some simple fairy tale ending where everyone lived happily ever after. The reality of rebuilding a nation has been filled with its own profound challenges, its own unique kinds of bitterness.
The sources talk about these as sufferings from within and from without. I mean, you're talking about struggles from every direction. They were external battles against enemies, but there were also incredibly painful internal fights, deep divisions within the Jewish people themselves about what this new reality should even look like. The dream was beautiful, but man, the reality on the ground was hard.
This whole complicated choice is captured so perfectly in this ancient Jewish story about Noah's dove. You know the one, right? The dove comes back to the ark holding an olive leaf. But the sages asked a great question. Why a bitter olive leaf? The ark was stocked with plenty of sweet, delicious food.
The dove was making a statement. It was saying, I would rather have the bitter taste of freedom and have to find my own food out in the real world than eat sweet food that's handed to me in a comfortable cage. It chose a difficult life that had meaning over an easy one that didn't. It chose to own its struggle.
So let's bring all of this full circle right back to where we started. That simple little sandwich, the korech.
That korech sandwich, it's the taste of the dove's choice. It's the taste of a messy, complicated, real redemption. It teaches you that you don't just pretend the suffering isn't there. You don't try to erase the pain of the past or ignore the struggles of today. You face them, head on.
So think about how you build it. Step 1, you take the matzah, the foundation of your freedom. Step 2, you put the mar, the raw bitterness of the struggle, right in the middle. But then, and this is the most critical part, you cover it again with another piece of matzah. You make a conscious choice to hold that pain inside a bigger story of purpose and hope and liberty. You give the suffering a meaning.
And that, right there, is the ultimate lesson of the korech. A meaningful life isn't a life without pain. And a true deep freedom isn't one that pretends difficulty doesn't exist. It's a freedom that has a why so powerful it can hold any how. It's the ability to taste the bitterness, but to let freedom and hope be the final flavor that lingers.
And so, this ancient ritual leaves us with a very personal question. We all have bitterness in our lives. We all have our own marar. The question is, what's your matzah? What is the freedom, the purpose, the hope that you choose to wrap it all in?